Welcome to our weekly meditation and mindfulness class. Let's begin this week with a meditation as we usually do. So let's find a comfortable seat. Just sitting in a comfortable position that allows us to sit with a straight spine without too much effort. So let's feel into our seat. We can close our eyes now, start to settle into the body. We can feel our connection to the earth through our legs. Feel our hips stacking above the legs. Feel the torso above the hips. Let's roll our shoulders up to our ears and down and back again. Keeping the shoulders soft and relaxed. Align the neck over the shoulders. Slightly tuck the chin. Reach the crown of the head up to the sky. So for this meditation, let's start with a breathing technique. So we'll do equal inhales to a count of 5 and equal exhales to a count of 5. So we'll begin with an inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Continue that pattern on your own for 3 more breaths. And then we will continue to sit for a few more minutes after that. Slowly begin to deepen your inhales, bringing awareness back into the body. When you're ready, you can open the eyes, rejoin us. So Gustin, just a little bit of background for you. The format of these classes we usually follow is 2 or 3 group meditations like we just did. And then in between that are I usually talk about some topics relating to meditation and mindfulness. And then we have some question and answer time. So just to give you an idea of what to expect. So how was that meditation? How's everyone feel? People feeling good, feeling restless, feeling tired? I know I'm pretty tired today, probably because of the rain.
I think it felt good.
Felt good? Great. Yeah. It's always nice to reconnect with the body, reconnect with the breath.
Yeah, that was really nice. I had a bit of running around today, errand wise, and getting tasks done. And so it was nice to just connect with that like eternal part of yourself. I felt like my energy was quite scattered out today. So I felt like I was able to collect myself again. So thank you for that.
My pleasure. Great.
Well, I really needed it because I went very deep. And then when your voice came back on, Matt, it startled me.
Oh, wow.
And I wanted to like stay in that, in that meditative mode.
Oh, well, great. Sorry to disturb you.
It's okay.
Yeah, that's why I like to start the classes with a meditation, just to give everyone a chance to come together, settle ourselves, collect ourselves. Great. So the topic I was thinking about talking about tonight is about the value of an interfaith approach to spirituality. So Gustin, a little background for you again. Right now I'm teaching these classes as part of the Abbey of the Redwoods, which is a new interfaith spiritual community that we're forming in McKinleyville here. And I really like this idea of interfaith studies. I think particularly because the tradition that I was trained in, the meditation tradition, even though it came largely from Buddhism, but it was descended from Tantric Buddhism, which the word Tantra has a lot of connotations. I mean, most people think tantric sex when they hear the word Tantra. But really a tantric path and tantric spirituality is spirituality that's practiced while living in the world. So instead of going off to a monastery or meditating in a cave, a tantric spiritual path is one that you cultivate and practice while you're living in the world, while continuing to have a job with your family and all that stuff. That's all that tantra means, which means practicing spirituality while carrying out a regular life. And many tantric paths throughout the ages have always drawn from many different sources. So even though my lineage came from Buddhism, we studied a lot of texts from Hinduism and even Christianity and Sufism. So there's all the religions have something to offer. All of them kind of get some things right, and they all kind of get other things wrong. And that's because at the fundamental level, all religions, all spiritual philosophies, they're all trying to describe the nature of reality. But the nature of reality is inherently indescribable. I mean, the true nature of reality is just it's beyond our little conscious minds to comprehend. And so that's why religions and spiritual paths, they use all these metaphors and myths to try to put into words, try to give some essence of, try to portray in words some essence of this fundamental nature of reality and our relation to it and how we fit into the world, how we fit into the universe. But because they're all trying to describe that which is inherently indescribable, that's why they're they're all kind of dancing around the truth, right? We can never really get right at it, but they're all kind of skirting around, dancing around. And if you look at, so when you study, if you study all of the different religions or a bunch of them, you kind of see it from different angles. You see different myths, different metaphors, and they all can help add to our perception, our understanding of what's really going on. And so that's why I really value this interfaith approach. I kind of think of religion and spirituality like ice cream, right? Everyone loves ice cream, and most people love ice cream, but we all love different flavors, right? Some people can love vanilla, some people love chocolate, some people love Rocky Road, and it's all good. It's all ice cream, it's all yummy, but we all have different preferences. And it's the same thing with religion or spirituality. We all have different preferences. The different myths and the different metaphors resonate differently with each of us. And some may resonate more with us than others. And that's great. That's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. We only run into problems when someone starts insisting that their flavor of ice cream is the best flavor and everyone should only eat their flavor of ice cream. I mean, that's when we start running into wars, or that's when people start killing each other. But it's, but at the heart, if we can all just accept that everyone has their own different flavor of ice cream, there's nothing wrong with that, then there's no need for fighting among religions. There's no need to insist that anyone else eats our particular flavor of ice cream. And Christianity has a bad history of trying to be very orthodox and trying to enforce their views on other people. But even among Buddhism and Hinduism, there's orthodox branches of that, orthodox traditions that insist that their way is the only way. I don't know if you've heard of transcendental meditation. They're a pretty fundamentalist orthodox group. One time I saw David Lynch speak, the director David Lynch. He's big into transcendental meditation. And I heard him talking, and that he started going off about how transcendental meditation is the only real meditation. Everything else isn't really meditation. So whenever we start insisting that our way is the only way, that's when we run into problems. That's when we run into trouble. But instead of trying to force our views on other people, we can instead see what we can learn from other people, see what we can learn from other people's understanding of religion and what resonates about those religions to them. And so that's why I really like this idea of interfaith studies. Like I said, so each of them get some parts, each of the religions get some things right and some things wrong, and they often kind of complement each other. So if the strengths of some approaches can help fill in the weaknesses of the other approaches. And so that's why I highly recommend reading about as many spiritual paths as you can, as many different religions and spiritualities as you can. There's lots of great resources out there, and they all can help deepen and enrich our understanding of the fundamental, ineffable nature of reality. Great. So that's all I really wanted to say about that. Is there any questions or any comments?
Yeah, I was wondering if maybe you could describe a little more of your knowledge on the transcendental meditation, if you have a second.
Oh, well, actually, I don't really know that much about them specifically. I know, yeah, 'cause I think when I heard about them and how orthodox they were, it kind of, I guess I'm not listening to my own advice. I didn't learn more about them, and I just haven't studied much about transcendental meditation.
How would it compare to, say, this type of meditation, or what kind you consider this to be?
Right. Well, what I teach and what I was trained in is, like I was saying, is I would consider it tantric Buddhism, because the roots are in Buddhism, but as a tantric path, it embraces all different types of teachings. And also a big part of Tantra is kind of the belief that the sacred teachings need to be constantly reinterpreted for our modern context, right? The sacred texts were written in a specific social and historical context. And so a lot of the examples, a lot of the metaphors are specific to that time and place. I mean, look at the Bible. It's very specific to that time. All those literal truths in there, they're very specific to that context. But the thing that's always appealed to me about tantric paths is that they always believe in reinterpreting the teachings for the modern environment, and explaining how these ancient teachings fit with us in our current modern lives. And so so that's, I mean, if you're asking what I'm teaching, it's if you really want to give it a label, my teacher always hated labels, but she said if you wanted to give it a label, you could call it Tantric Buddhist mysticism. And mysticism just means trying to directly experience the universe yourself, trying to directly experience your place in the world, your place in our place in the universe. I mean, as opposed to someone else telling you how you need to fit in the world. Like mysticism is focused on each individual feeling for themselves their connection to the universe. So does that help? Great. And so, Gustin, do you have much training in meditation? Have you studied it before, or?
I've tried to practice it, and I went to a couple of different. I did the Arcata Buddhist group a couple of times,
Mm-hmm.
and then I read a book on Taoism, I think, that touched on a little bit, and I read another meditation book that I have kind of forgotten the author of now. I would have to grab it, but I think it was more on the transcendental philosophies, and I believe they were. I had heard later that author was pretty rigid.
Right. Yeah. Oh, great. And so I have your email address. I can send you on our website. Well, the Abbey's website is a work in progress, but on my website, I have some videos about basic meditation techniques and setting up your own practice. So I can direct you to that if you're curious.
That would be excellent. Thank you.
Great. So Helen and Carla, do you mind if I keep asking Gustin some more questions? Is that okay? Great. So I'm curious. So what drew you here tonight? How'd you decide you should check this out?
Well, I've found real calm in when I do take the time to meditate, and I feel like I've achieved a possibly a transcendental state once.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Where I felt it felt really good, like I had sort of gotten to this place of awakening, and I wasn't asleep, but my mind was completely clear.
Mhm.
And I've always sought to get back to that. So let's see, that time I believe was in the Buddhist group in Arcata, and I had a really successful experience there. But I appreciate the thought of the mindfulness, and I think there's a lot of good energy there and help to be gained from that for the mind and for the soul too, just to kind of slow down and connect a little deeper connection with my place, kind of like you were describing where I'm at.
Mhm.
Just being here right now. So, and then seeing your link, I saw it in the journal, and I'm like, oh, I should check that out, and I happen to have time, so that worked out great.
Perfect. Well, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for offering this wonderful service.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Great. So Helen, Carla, do you have any questions or anything you want to add?
So just, I love that you're approaching this topic around, different traditions. I was at an ashram, and the guru there had asked me about my practices, and I was like, oh, do a little this, little that, and he was like, Carla, you're treating your spirituality like a smorgasbord. And I was just like, I know, right? And he and he didn't love that the way I do.
Mhm.
And I'm okay with it. And I think initially I got a bit defensive. I felt judged.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I'm like, it's working for me. And on some levels, I feel like it's like being bilingual or multilingual. And so I think when I came to that conclusion, it actually sat better with me.
Mhm.
But it was kind of interesting to be, across the table from a holy person, and then I felt a bit judged.
Right.
But not to say that I didn't go back to him and I still practice with him, but I think he was trying to veer me more towards their line. And for me, it was just kind of like, but that's the whole point, is I'm not going to commit, because as you were saying, there's a benefit to be derived from many different practices. And I think that that's the mindset that really resonates with me. And so it pleased me deeply to hear you say that.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I kind of understand the argument that there can be some value in kind of sticking to one path for a little while if it resonates with you. I mean, if you find one particular path that really works for you, then there can be value in following deeply or diving deeply into that one particular path. But only if it really speaks to you. And until you find something that really speaks to you, I think it's valuable to kind of look around and see what's out there and learn what you can from what's available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So I give you permission to keep doing what you're doing for what it's worth, with all the power vested in me.
I feel so validated. Thank you.
Great. Okay. Helen, do you want to add anything? Okay. Well, why don't we meditate once more? And so, Dustin, I can add you to my mailing list if you'd like. I usually send out a Spotify playlist as well, because sometimes we use music. That's another touchy topic for some meditation teachers, whether or not you're allowed to meditate with music, but I find it helpful. And I have videos that talk about that too. But so for now, you can just continue to sit in silence. But in the future, if you'd like, you can play. So I can't play music over Zoom because it gets all broken up. And so that's why I send out a playlist separately. And so you can play your music on your own in your own home. Great. So for this meditation, okay, so yeah, if you guys have your playlist, let's skip to the second song. I forgot to do the first one. So let's skip to the second song. And for this meditation, we'll do a visualization technique. So let's find our comfortable seat, sitting up tall and relaxed. Once more, let's roll those shoulders up to the ears and down and back, keeping those shoulders soft and relaxed. And for this meditation, I invite you to focus on the third eye, which is right in the center of your forehead, kind of right in the middle of the head, in the center of the forehead. And this is the chakra that's associated with clear vision and seeing and understanding. And so while we sit in this meditation, let's imagine, so this chakra is sometimes referred to as the unicorn horn. And I love that name. I think it really entertains me. So let's imagine that you have a rainbow colored unicorn horn growing out of the third eye in the middle of your forehead. And while we sit, just imagine that you're beaming light out through that unicorn horn, beaming light out into the world, just spreading light to everyone in the world. So while we sit, just hold your attention on the third eye and visualize that you're spreading light throughout the world. So if you'd like to use music, you can hit play now. Gently begin to deepen the inhale, coming back into the body. When you're ready, you can open the eyes, rejoin us. So how was that meditation?
It was good. It felt like I was just getting to where that bright, warm light, I was sensing that, and then we were done.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I just keep interrupting people tonight, I guess.
No, but once I get there, is it similar? Is that a similar description that any of you guys get to, where I've focused on that third eye before, never so much as a unicorn, but I try and concentrate there, and then it works and works, and then I get that feet, and then I see this really, really bright, warm light, and if I don't concentrate too much, it stays there, and then sometimes it'll go away and then come back or fade. But when it's really good, it's like this steady white light. Is that similar to anybody else's experience?
Sure. I've had experiences like that. I don't know if Helen and Carla you have as well. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, normally when I focus on the third, I actually have trouble with that. I find that it feels like a little bit of a strain. But today with the unicorn and the horn, I had a different visual. So it was helpful. And I think maybe instead of looking from, with my eyes looking from inside out, I sort of felt like I was looking at my horn, and it was helpful.
Yeah. Oh, great.
It was something for me to focus on, I think.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, that's why I like to teach lots of different techniques, because they resonate differently with different people. And so yeah, whenever you find one that works, take note of it and can include that in your own practice.
When you guys are meditating and you're resting, do you have a position or posture for your hands?
There's I don't prescribe any particular position. I mean, there are, if you want to get technical, yeah, there are different things, different mudras you can do. I've never really felt too much effect of that myself personally. Yeah, I mean, the main thing is you want them just someplace comfortable. It's not distracting you. Yeah, you can try with different techniques. Yeah, like Helen demonstrated that one where you kind of place. It's hard to just place one hand on top of the other. Sometimes they say you should connect the thumbs gently. Yeah, and so you might experiment how it feels with having one hand on top versus the other hand on top. So those, the theory is that the different hands evoked one evokes more masculine energy, one evokes more feminine energy. There's lots of different theories and ideas about that, and I'd say pretty much my answer to everything is if it works for you, then great, and go for it. So I encourage you to experiment and just see what works best for you.
So I would just like to add on to that. For me personally, on the hand positions, if I'm looking to receive, then I'm palms up. But if I feel like I need to ground down, then I do palms down. And then just as far as like my placement, like one teacher taught me, like you reach your hands out and then you just drop them down. And that's the position where they should rest. And kind of even just how he has us like roll our shoulders up and back. So yeah, so you just kind of from here and where it goes down. So for that kind of hits right at my kneecap. And then I can decide to be palms up or palms down. And so, today I would love to receive. He's talking about like this, you're opening your third eye. I'd love to receive more of that. So in this instance, it's palms up. But if it were the end of the night and we're like trying to like drift off to sleep, then I would go palms down. And if you're in the middle, one up, one down, that works too. Whatever works, as our dear teacher says.
Yeah. Oh, I haven't heard that before. I like that. Just extending the arms out naturally and letting them fall. That sounds good. But I have, thanks for bringing that up. I have found that as well with palms up. And sometimes when I'm sitting cross-legged on the floor, especially, and with my hands on my knees, palms up were more when you want to receive. And then when I'm feeling, sometimes if my mind is racing around a lot, my mind is really fast, then I do find that placing my palms down is more grounding. It helps me kind of connect more to the earth. So yeah, that's something to consider.
Mm-hmm.
Great. But yeah, I mean, the main thing is just find something that works for you. And it can be different in different days, different at different times during the day. So, great. So I wanted to talk a little bit more on this, continuing on this idea of interfaith. So I've just recently been learning more about Celtic Christianity, and there's going to be an online seminar through the Abbey here. The abbot Lynn is going to be giving a series of 3 1-hour lectures on Celtic Christianity, and it's really interesting because the Celts, so they were spread out throughout Europe before the Roman Empire took over. So they had a wide ranging kind of, their culture spread all across Europe from Britain to Asia Minor, and they had contact with India during the time that the Vedas were being written. And so the indigenous Celtic spirituality has connections to early Hinduism, early Vedanta. And then the Roman Empire spread throughout Europe and kind of pushed the Celts back to Britain in the north part of Britain. And then the Roman Empire retracted once more. So they introduced Christianity to the Celts, and then the Roman Empire got defeated by the German tribes, and they retreated back to Rome. And so the Celts were kind of isolated up in Britain, and they developed their own Christianity separate from the influence of the Roman Empire. And it's influenced by their indigenous beliefs, which share lots of commonality with Vedanta. And so there's a lot of really, really interesting ideas and concepts about how human nature is divine instead of sinful. I mean, they don't have any of the original sin doctrines, or the idea that God created the world out of nothing. I mean, in this Celtic Christianity, the human nature is sacred, and there's none of this trying to deny our desires or deny our nature, and that humans are sinful and that our only salvation is to be found through Jesus. It's a much more friendly and kind of life-affirming approach to Christianity, if you will. So yeah, if you're interested, I can email more information about these seminars that are going to be coming up. But I think that's going to be an influence on the Abbey here as we start to develop this, what interfaith practice means to us. I think we're going to draw a lot from the Celtic Christianity traditions. And so it's really fascinating and kind of exciting to me that you can, when I first came here, I have to admit, I was skeptical of Christianity. I was raised Lutheran, And church to me just seemed like empty ritual. And even the adults that went to it, it seemed like the adults didn't feel anything from it. They were just going to it because it was something that good people are supposed to do. I don't know if anyone has similar experiences with church, but it always just seemed so empty to me. I never really felt nourished by it. But this Celtic Christianity is giving me hope that there's something that I can embrace here in Christianity. So that's just wanted to give a little plug for that. And because I think, as I mentioned before, I think a lot of the problems we're seeing in the world today stem from the Christian roots that view human nature as sinful and try to teach us to just deny our animal instincts, right? Just abstain from sex, abstain from desire. So, but instead of accepting these thoughts and emotions that are a natural part of us, we've all been trained to try to ignore our emotions, especially negative emotions. And a lot of that, I think, comes from the Christian doctrines of original sin and things like that, about how human nature is bad and that human nature is fundamentally opposed to God, and only by trying to change ourselves and deny ourselves are we able to find salvation. And I think that idea is still, the roots of that idea are still prevalent in our society today. And so I think I'm all in favor of any kind of tradition that supports accepting our nature as it is and accepting our emotions as they arise instead of trying to deny them or trying to hide from them. So that's all I wanted to say on that. Any questions or thoughts about that? And so I just thought it was really interesting because I think a lot of us associate the Celts just with kind of Ireland, right? We think that's where their history is, but they had a wide-ranging culture that spread across all of Europe. And so a lot of, they have influences on a lot of early European culture and European history, but then they kind of got shunted off to the side. So, yeah. All right. Well, we have some time left. Are there any general questions about meditation or about your own practice? Yeah, nothing? Okay. Great, well, let's meditate again then. So if you have music, you can get that playlist ready. And for this meditation, so we can just close our eyes, find our comfortable seat. And for this meditation, let's focus on the heart chakra. And invite you to visualize for this technique. Imagine that you're cupping your heart in your hands in front of your chest. And as you inhale, breathe in love from the universe, love from God, love from whatever you want to call it, the universal consciousness. But breathe in that love that's all around us. And then as you exhale, imagine you're exhaling that love into your heart, just like you're warming up your hands on a chilly winter day. So inhale, breathing in love, absorbing love. And exhaling, blowing that love into your heart. Just bathing your love in heart, bathing your heart in love, bathing your heart in compassion. So if you'd like to use music, you can start that now. And just continue with this heart chakra meditation. And start to deepen the inhale. Coming back to the physical. If you feel inclined, a nice way to end a meditation can be just to give a little bow, just kind of in gratitude to the universe for the opportunity to sit. It's not necessary, I mean, there's no rules or anything, but I find that to be a nice way to conclude a meditation. Great, so how was that? Any comments or questions about heart chakra? I tend to talk a lot about the heart because I feel like so many of the problems we're seeing in the world right now are because we're cut off from our hearts. We're taught, we're trained to really focus on the mind, on the intellect, but we're not really taught to put much attention into our heart, into our feelings. And so I feel as part of my job is to try to help us all reconnect with the heart, reconnect with our feelings. And so you'll hear me talking about that kind of stuff frequently.
Matt, can you talk about again what you said last week? Because I was trying to connect this meditation with the heart to what you said last week about loving yourself. So maybe you can talk about that.
Sure. Yeah. So last week I talked about how to love this crazy world that we're living in right now. How to feel love and compassion for all of the hate and anger that seems to be in the world right now. And the answer, I think, or one answer, one approach is to really become secure in our own hearts. Because when we feel connected to our heart, then we can feel our connection to the universe. And when we're grounded in our own heart, when we're grounded in our own love, then we're not so affected by all of the ups and downs, all the cycles of the world around us. Because the world is there's always going to be cycles of pain and pleasure in the world. But if we can get connected with our heart and feel secure in our heart and feel connected, feel our place in the world through our heart, then we can meet all of the struggles of the world with equanimity. We don't have to be drawn in as much to the world. I mean, we're still going to feel pain. We're still going to feel negative emotions in our lives. But if we have a strong connection to our hearts, we're not swept away so much. We don't necessarily get carried away in anger, carried away in pain. So, does that answer your question, Helen?
Mm-hmm.
Great. Well, it's 6 o'clock now, so I think that's a good time for us to end. So thank you all for joining me tonight. It's a pleasure to see you all. And yeah.
Nice to meet you, Gustin.
Yeah, nice to meet you, Gustin. Thanks for
Back
joining
next week, Gustin.
Yes, it was a pleasure, you guys. Thank you so much. How often do you do this?
Every Thursday at 5 o'clock.
Okay, great. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll try and make that work.
Yeah, you don't feel obligated to attend every Thursday, but
Well, and I look forward to getting some of your links too.
sure. Yeah, I have recordings of past topics that we've talked about in past classes, and so yeah, I'll send that to you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nice to meet you folks.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Have a good night, everyone.
Yeah, thank you,
Thank
Matthew.
you.
Bye.
Bye.